Folks, welcome to the channel, and yes, this is gonna be the review of Barbie movie. If you appreciate the enormous effort I make so as to have this kind of content, do subscribe to the channel. More than appreciate. I mean, seriously, I'm just back from the movie. Went with my wife. My wife wanted to see it, and she does so much for me and family, kids, and so on. She definitely deserves the support for this kind of thing. She, like so many girls, I assume, she was a fan, still is, a fan of the doll. It represents something from her childhood. My wife, she's very pretty, blonde, blue eyes, and I guess that she saw herself in the doll, so like so many other girls. And it's not so much about you being just like Barbie. Barbie, keep in mind, it is a doll. It is an impossible proportion for a human being in every aspect. So even if you looked, I guess, completely different, it's still one of those things where you play with human perfection. And for a girl, it would be impossibly long legs, impossible silhouettes and proportions, and super pretty. It's not all that different from what boys play with. If you played with a G.I. Joe, He-Man, a body. I was just telling this to my wife, He-Man would be, or the Incredible Hulk. What kind of dude can be, or any other action hero, what kind of hero could have, what kind of human being could have the muscles of a superhero? Actors that try to do that have to go into a strict diet of steroids and anabolic drugs and an extreme diet and exercise. Margot Robbie, she just needs her natural beauty and just stay somewhat slim to do the role. If you think about it, it's a lot more demanding and a lot more artificial to be the male version of perfection in terms of a child's toys than in terms of a woman. Basically, any woman that is kind of in shape and slim and a little bit pretty could basically do the same thing. And not even that. Some of the Barbies that we saw here are even morbidly obese. So you have morbidly obese, cheerful Barbie. You have Barbies, you have Barbies that are not even women. You have transvestite Barbie, so it's a lot more flexible. What about the movie? It is a 2 out of 5 stars, and I'll explain why. The movie is obviously something that has gone through several writers and jokes and people with different takes on things. The movie at times can be surprisingly funny. Some of the jokes regarding the Barbie as a toy are spot on, and it does help a lot to have fantastic actors like Margot Robbie and Ryan Gosling, who is very funny. So as I said, you have morbidly obese Barbie right there. You have Barbie that is actually a dude. This is a man that has long hair, and he can also be Barbie. In a nutshell, the story is that Barbie is having this, existential crisis, and she has to go back to the real world. Ken tags along, and then is where he learns about the patriarchy, because up until that moment, Kens in Barbie Land are only there to be serving Barbies. Not even as a slave, not even recognized as a living being. They're just a human accessory that simply adores the Barbies. The Kens are there to simply adore and serve Barbies and just admire them. They don't even have a place to live in themselves. They don't have any lives of their own. They're just looking at Barbies and just loving Barbies and not having any of that in return. Barbies just ignore them completely and just don't feel anything for them, right? And then when Ken learns about the patriarchy, he goes back into Barbie Land, teaches the other Kens about the patriarchy, and they start reverting these roles where now it is Ken Land, and the Barbies are there to serve the Kens, just bringing them drinks, massaging their feet, and so on. And that's basically it. Then Barbie realizes that this is going on. She goes back into Barbie Land, and there's a couple of the original owner of Barbie, who's a very nasty, angry feminist, and her unbearable Latina teenager daughter. They just have the most cringiest woke speech that you could. It is terrible. Well, with that speech, they remove the brainwashing from the patriarchy from the other Barbies. And then there's, it goes to a different level of cringe. You have them share this feminist speech, which is removing the hypnosis from the rest of the Barbies, and they come back to their true selves. And then, so as to go back into controlling the Kens, they first seduce them, then start making them feel jealous by cheating on the Kens, I guess. And the Kens start fighting among each other, and that's how they regain control. And maybe one of the constant message of the patriarchy, you will hear the word patriarchy like 50 times. Patriarchy this, patriarchy that. The patriarchy is the worst thing ever. Men are always stupid. The Kens are literally like brain damaged creatures. They have no lives of their own. They cannot think for themselves. They're the most stupid thing ever. And it's just because of Ryan Gosling being a pretty charismatic guy and being a pretty good actor in his own right that he just manages to pull it off, happening to be funny enough. There's a couple gags and jokes here and there that work, again, mostly thanks to these two, but then the agenda, the message that some feminist lunatic had to put into this movie, dear God, it is terrible. I mean, the movie starts with what could be like the most blunt, less delicate. I mean, there's nothing subtle about this. This is how the movie starts. Yeah, because babies need to be killed and destroyed. So it starts with the idea that baby toys are bad and girls that play with them are sad, miserable creatures. And there comes Barbie to teach them about how women without children are awesome. And that's how children should be. And, the little kid feeding the baby, looking after the baby, even ironing. They are all miserable, dirty, even physically hurt, like they have scars. Well, Barbie comes and fixes all that by being perfect and beautiful and awesome, which there's nothing wrong with having a toy of a beautiful woman. But of course, this is just not feminist enough, because as we all know, Barbie is just part of the problem. It's part of the patriarchy. Barbie needs to be Barbie black president, needs to be Barbie trans Barbie, or Barbie morbidly obese Barbie, but stereotypical Barbie? Fuck no, that has to be destroyed. And the movie lacks so much self-awareness that in the middle of the movie, the off voice says, well, stereotypical would not be exactly having Margot Robbie in this role. They actually mentioned the actress in the movie as someone that is not representative of real woman. I guess that Margot Robbie is not a real human being. It is insane. I mean, what, Ryan Gosling isn't a real man either? Why? Because he is good looking, he works out. That's something that normal ass dudes cannot do. There's not beautiful women as beautiful, or a humble opinion, but women that are even more beautiful than Margot Robbie that are not even actresses. That does not exist in the real world. Okay, it is pretty cringe, and even in the way it ends, you need to destroy stereotypical Barbie, because again, Barbie has to be Barbie astronaut, Barbie has to be Barbie black president, or Barbie doctor, just someone that is simply Barbie. She's just beautiful and smart and female perfection. No, that needs to end, especially because she's white. We cannot have stereotypical white Barbie. I mean, if she was stereotypical Asian Barbie or stereotypical black or obese Barbie, that would be fine. But white Barbie needs to die. And she kind of literally does that. She talks with the creator of Barbie about not wanting to be an idea anymore, and she wants to become a human, and the creator says, well, you know what happens? You die, honey, when you're a human. She says, yeah, basically, that's what she chooses to do. So she becomes a human, she goes to her gynecologist, and she now has a vagina, and she will now die, as stereotypical Barbie dies along with her. Dude, it is cringy as fuck. It has a couple funny moments, but the message, it's one of the more brutal things I've ever seen. It's really incredible. That's it, guys. That's my review of Barbie. It is one of the saddest things I've seen in a long... It's probably the worst thing in terms of message, in terms of the pure hate and vile disregard for men. The idea that men are basically things that need to be destroyed, and there's no good quality. In Barbie land or in the real world, men are just scum that are there to oppress women, and the less of them you have, the better it is. Man, it is tough. Guys, that's a review. See you on our next video. Take care.